What's going on, guys? Steve Pulaski here, coming back with another review, this time of Iron Man 3. Okay, going for another doubleheader this week, okay, so I'm kind of worn out, bear with me. Yeah, Iron Man 3, first off, before I get into any opinion about the new one, I want to say that as far as Iron Man goes in general, as a movie, as a series, never read any of the comic books, okay? I'm not a comic book reader. I never liked comic books that much. They were just never my thing. It's not only the fact that I grew up outside of that generation, it's just I've never been fond of comic books. If I ever read comic books, it was because of, like, the dollar store. My grandmother and I used to always go to this one dollar store when I came over on Fridays. And the thing about the dollar store was they always used to have, like, really, boxes of weird, obscure comics. And I'd always look through them. I remember having like, one down there with, like, Fish Police or something. I used to read, like, the really obscure comics that if they were to make movies on, like, the comics that I read, there would only be one, they'd only make ticket sales off of me and my mother, probably, you know what I mean? But, anyway, though, I am looking forward, though, to Marvel's making Ant-Man, though, in 2014 or 2015, one of the two. Really looking forward to that one, just because it's an obscure superhero that nobody talks about. There's really no bar of expectations, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I would definitely rather see that than Thor or Captain America. Anyway, though, the Iron Man series, like I said, never read any of the comic books. I saw the first Iron Man on Monday, this past Monday. I liked it a lot. It was a very good movie. Jon Favreau, he really did well with the grandiose idea and a lot of the grandiose idea of Iron Man and his origins, but he also did well with the placement, too. Like, it really had a nice big scale with it, and everything was just, like, I think designed very well so that it could encompass all this energy and action. That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. My review, I think I clarified a lot more. Another reason why video making isn't really my forte. But Iron Man 2, a lot of people hate Iron Man 2. I'll admit, it was kind of a letdown after coming off of Iron Man. I thought it was okay, though. It did well for me. There's a little bit too much going on in the movie, but it still satisfied me, okay? You know what I mean? That's what I looked for. It was, I think, a little bit more cluttered than Spider-Man 3, which I didn't like. And if you guys want to know, my favorite superhero is Spider-Man. But, I actually did read some comics of Spider-Man. But the thing about Iron Man 2, though, the Spider-Man 3 was just kind of just way too cluttered with the way there were so many villains and everything. Iron Man 2 had a lot of ideas, and they still kind of built off of them successfully. You know what I mean? They still did a really decent job at incorporating everything. Now Iron Man 3, what it's about, don't want to give too much away, but Tony Stark, you know, back again, played by Robert Downey Jr., as the genius billionaire philanthropist that we've seen for the last 2 movies, 3 if you want to count Avengers, but which I did like a lot. Like I said, now he's getting threats from Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, who is like this terrorist overseas, and that's about all I want to say, okay? Because I don't really want to get too much into the plot, okay? And then Tony Stark has to come to terms with trying to understand that he's starting to get to more of the anguish of being Iron Man 2. He's getting more panic attacks. He even teams up with this other kid who kind of admires him. So that's basically the plot. I know I kind of went over that a little bit too much. I try not to focus a lot on superhero plots because I don't want to get in all the inner workings and all the little things about them. But yeah, it's basically the drama of Iron Man 2 turned down a little bit. Anyway, what can I encompass in this for Iron Man 3? I will say that it is probably so far one of the biggest disappointments of the year, okay? But let me finish. It's not a bad movie, per se. It's just a disappointing movie. This is the first movie in the series that Jon Favreau didn't direct. He produced it, yes, but he didn't direct it or write it, and he did that for the last 2. He's in the movie, he plays Happy Hogan, but he's really like not a big part in it. Very disappointing, though, because the focus has shifted from Favreau to Shane Black, okay? And Shane Black, I think his only, like, I don't have much knowledge on Black, but I think the biggest movie that he did was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang a couple years ago, which I never saw, but a lot of people say, like, ever since I joined Reddit, that was the movie that everybody was talking about, too, and they're like, you gotta see it, man. Nobody saw it, but it's so good. Yeah, I gotta watch that. But, yeah, the problem was, the first immediate problem I had with this is I don't mind comedy, okay? I think comedy's kind of, like, hard to do, especially when you're mixing genres. Comedy's hard to do on its own, but when you're doing it with the horror genre, doing it with the action genre, doing it with, I don't know, the dramatic genre, it's a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to do well. Iron Man 3 does it, when it does it well, it's very funny, okay? There's some very funny scenes, especially with the Iron Man and the kid. And the kid could have been left out, but, wasn't my favorite character, but the thing is, though, Black writes it well, okay? He does write it, Iron Man 3 well, in terms of, like, loose comedy, but when it comes to, you know what I mean, like, trying to be serious, when it's time to be serious, he can't be serious. It's always this, kind of like this meta, self-referential stuff, which I hear Kiss Kiss Bang Bang did a lot with, like, self-referential humor, okay? But, that was the main thing that annoyed me, though, with Iron Man 3, was that there's so much, like, cutesy witticisms in this movie, and it's like, you know, you don't need it, you know, you just don't need it, you know? And it just gets irritating after a while, especially, like, when it's, like there's even one of the scenes, too, it's not really a funny scene, it's more of a meant to be serious, but even the fact that there's so much comedy makes the serious scenes harder to take seriously. Like, case in point, when, Iron Man's addressing, Mandarin through kind of like a television conference when all the paparazzi swarming him and everything. And what winds up happening, though, is he winds up giving out his address, okay? And he's like, come get me or come find me. You know what I mean? I'll be waiting. And it comes off as so corny. It was probably one of the corniest lines I've heard in recent years, next to, like, anything Liam Neeson said that was supposed to be very serious in both Taken movies, okay? But anyway, that bothered me. And the other thing is, though, is how they desperately shortchanged Mandarin in this movie. I mean, like I said, I didn't know too much about Mandarin going into the movie. I never read the comics, as I said, but they really didn't. If you were a diehard fan of the comics, I can't help but think you got screwed with this, because they didn't do anything with the Mandarin character, and then they're trying to welcome in this other character who, like, Tony Stark ignored in the beginning of the movie. You see that happening, and they welcome him in, and then it's like. And then there's a twist to it where it's like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do. You know, again, there's not really any development between these two villains, okay? There's a twist that might explain that, but I don't really know. I still don't totally get why they had to make that twist at the end. But Mandarin, though, like I said, for a villain as cool as him, I mean, he reminded me of a really, like, and I think he's supposed to be kind of like an Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda-esque terrorist. I think that's what he's supposed to represent. But they don't get into that. There is a good ethical debate, and I always look for ethical debates in movies. Why, I have no idea. But the ethical debate that I liked in this movie was that it was Don Cheadle who plays Rhodey and Tony Stark's best friend, and they're talking in the movie, and they're like, and Rhodey's like, you know, you can stop doing this now, or like, you know, stop doing going Iron Man and everything. You could try, you know, leave the politics alone and let the government handle that. You know what I mean? And it gets to be the point where Iron Man tries to think like, what, you know what I mean, what is my job, what is the government's job, when should I mind my business, when should I go out and fight? That's the stuff that I would have loved to see. And if there's one moral that kind of goes along with these two Iron Man sequels, it's that they have so many good ideas, but they don't deliver, though, as good as they could have. I mean, even Iron Man 2, which I like, I'm gonna say I liked Iron Man 2 more than this movie, which is gonna upset a lot of people, but I thought Iron Man 2, it had a better scale. Don't get me wrong, it had a lot of cluttered ideas, but it had a better range of things, and it designed them better and more efficiently. Where this, it doesn't do it. And, you know what I mean? It tackles a more narrow range, but it doesn't go into anything. I would rather have Iron Man 2. At least Iron Man 2 is trying to be ambitious and trying to throw all this stuff in there. Even if it doesn't necessarily succeed, it's still doing what it can. You know what I mean? It still shows that it's trying to, you know what I mean, to incorporate everything. For a finale, though, because I've heard that they're going to come back with an Iron Man 4. I don't know. Stay after the credits, so there was a pretty cool after credit scene. I missed it. I had to go on YouTube and watch it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool after credit scene, I'm not going to lie. It takes you a minute, though, to, like, realize it, because I had to actually look it up, and I didn't think it was that funny. And then when I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But, and because there's a little bit of a twist in there. Anyway, what I was saying, though, was just to summarize my thoughts on Iron Man 3, I think it's a fine movie in a way, but I don't think it's going to satisfy people. I think they're going to have to go on to make Iron Man 4, because fans are going to be I think they're going to be dissatisfied with this, because there's just, for a movie that's trying to be a finale, because that's what I'm thinking this wants to be, it makes everything more of a laugh riot than a serious spectacle, and that's the thing. Do a horrible job, in my opinion. He could have done a lot better, though. If he would have buried the hatchet with the self-referential, cutesy narrations, and, or not narration, I take that back, like cutesy one-liners, it would have been a lot better. Because you see that in the first two, just not as much. It was more restricted, and that's what I liked about that one, those two better. But I'm out of 4 stars, gonna have to give it a 2.5. When I was watching this movie, I'm jumping back and forth between a 2.5 or a 3. Keep in mind, 3 stars is when I can finally say thumbs up. Good movie, definitely check it out. 2.5 stars is a high thumbs down for me, okay? And in my scale, that's how it is. Yeah, and it was disappointing, though, because I kept jumping back between the 2 ratings, and I'm like, you know, I like this. I was switching moods throughout the whole thing. But not a bad movie. You're going to see it regardless of what I say. Be honest. You know what I mean? This is a movie where I almost don't even have to frickin' review it because it's not going to matter. Or a smaller movie like The Host or 42 maybe, or Pain and Gain, people are like, I don't know, maybe I'll look at the reviews, you know what I mean? Whereas Iron Man 3, I could flat out say this is one of the worst movies ever made. Give it half a star, and people would still go see the damn thing, okay? Gonna give it 2.5 stars. Not a bad movie, just a very kind of a letdown, especially from someone like me who actually did like the Iron Man series, you know what I mean? And I don't hate it now just because of this movie. It's just, I think that they really, for a finale, they really kind of screwed it over. If they're going to make Iron Man 4, I don't think it's going to happen. I would love to see Jon Favreau come back, though, rather than Shane Black. There's nothing wrong with Shane Black. I just think Favreau did a much better job in incorporating large scale to the movie and emotional depth and just like just a better range of things. I think that he tackled more efficiently. Anyway, though, thank you guys for watching, for subscribing. Sub if you haven't. I forgot to say in my last video I was going to review Iron Man 3. I think I said it, but I don't remember if I said it at the end. Next week, I'm only seeing one movie. I'm seeing The Great Gatsby, which I'm very excited for. I read the book. I'm a big Great Gatsby fan. I like that. I'm really looking forward to see how Baz Luhrmann's going to do this. And then the following week, I don't think I'm seeing anything. I'm just going to be honest with you. The week of May 17th, I don't think I'm seeing anything. And then the end of the month, I'm going to probably end it with Hangover Part 3. Anyway, though, guys, thank you guys for watching and for subscribing. And keep in mind, these reviews only serve as a companion piece of my reviews. You will not get the full opinion in this video. For the full opinion, you need to go to my written review, which will be linked down below. Okay, thank you guys for watching. Bye.